Rangers pregame is coming up at 6:30. The first pitch shortly after 7 o'clock, Game 4 in Arizona. The Rangers up 2-1 and looking to become just one win away from being World Series champions. And joining us now is a man who played in 2 World Series for the Texas Rangers and one of the most popular Rangers of that era. It's David Murphy with you on 105.3 The Fan once again, sir. Thank you for joining us.
Yeah, no problem. Always love it.
Okay, we got to start with this big story, and we're waiting to see news on Adolis Garcia, but hurt his final at bat last night. How much do you think it hurts the Rangers if he can't go?
It's huge, especially for what he's been able to do throughout the course of the postseason. Man, there's a reason why he was hitting third last night. You hate to see something like that happen, and you're obviously hopeful, but if he's not able to compete, that's a pretty big blow.
Now, Murph, obviously, this is just hypothetically speaking. We don't know the severity or what exactly it is Adolis is dealing with. But let's say it's core. It's like an oblique deal. As a former hitter and outfielder, I don't know if that's something you dealt with, but how challenging would that be for Adolis the remainder of the series?
It would be. I feel like with the medical team, there's ways to get around everything if they just need to get you through a few games. Obviously, a lot of times when guys go on the injured list, it's because, throughout the course of 162 games, you're thinking, all right, would we rather have you at full strength and give you, a week to 2 weeks off? Or, are we going to try to grind through this and get you, 60 to 70% of who you are, some type of percentage? And, for the way that Adolis has been swinging it, you'll definitely take him at 75%.
If they go with Jankowski, in replacement there, what do the Rangers have in a guy like Travis Jankowski who can come in here for Adolis?
Just obviously a great player. I mean, he's had some great at-bats throughout the course of the postseason. Whenever he's been given an opportunity, just, hasn't been given a ton, and for good reason. Guy that can play defense, a guy that can do a lot of different things. He's not going to, go off and hit the ball out of the ballpark left and right the way Adolis is. But, he's definitely a great replacement if he's the guy that has to be in there.
It's David Murphy here with you on 105.3 The Fan. So what's your feeling up 2-1? Do you think they're going to win the World Series, David?
I mean, I said Rangers in 6 to begin with, and they're obviously ahead of schedule. Last night was just a really good baseball game. Tonight being a bullpen game, we'll see what happens. And, I feel like it just it amplifies the statement that anything can happen in the game of baseball, especially in the postseason. So you really don't know what to expect tonight. You don't know, how early each manager is going to try to get to their back end guys or how it's going to shake out, especially, with Game 5 tomorrow night. You got to be careful with your bullpen because you need everybody to still be fresh for tomorrow. But, I mean, obviously, I'm a Rangers guy. I'm optimistic. And, they're looking like they're going to take a commanding lead tonight.
David, we were all kind of, with the way that John Gray pitched last night, there was that fan in me that's like, please, just let him keep throwing. What was your feeling with him on the hill? Where you're like, man, let him finish this thing out, or as a former player, you totally understood what Boch was trying to do there?
Yeah, Boch isn't a guy that I'm going to second guess.
Not at all.
He has an amazing track record. So prepared. I mean, these guys go through meetings and discussions and scenarios. Spores has been phenomenal throughout the course of the postseason. Obviously, for a minute there, got a little dicey with Chapman in there. And can we give credit? I mean, I know that Seager gets so much credit for the way he's been swinging the bat, and for great reason. But what a play on the double play, going up the middle. And just talk about a guy that makes everything look easy. Marte hits a bullet, and he's a quick runner. So obviously the ball gets to him quickly. But Seager and Semien are such a lethal double play combination up the middle, and that was the ideal time for it.
All right, Murph, so it's official. It'll be Travis Jankowski in for Adolis tonight. Adolis is not in the starting lineup. Janko's going to be batting 9th. Semien leading off. Seager batting 2nd. Mitch Garver now batting 3rd. Carter staying in that cleanup role. Do you think maybe you go a little more small ball with Janko and his speed?
You could. I mean, obviously, you need to let each situation play out. The Rangers are not. They'll throw out a 2 or a 3-run homer at any point. I know that's easy to say, and that's not as likely to happen during the postseason, especially if you got a guy like him in the 9-hole. But we're going to take it by inning by inning, or inning by inning, since it's a bullpen game. Especially,
Sure.
You figure if Mantiply's the guy for the Diamondbacks, say he has a 1-2-3 first, then he'll probably go back out there at least to pitch to Carter, and then they'll bring in a righty, and we'll just see what happens. So. There's times, especially when I put myself in their shoes, I got frustrated at times, even if it was a spring training game when we knew we were going to see a new pitcher every inning, because you get so excited, the second and third time around when you see a guy, because you're like, all right, next time I face him, I'm going to get him. And if you don't get him the second time, you're going to get him the third time. And there's been times where you don't even get to face him a third time. So that's why a bullpen game can be frustrating, because you're constantly having to check scouting reports and just figure out the next guy you're facing.
It's David Murphy here with us on The Fan. And, you mentioned Corey Seager back there, the work that he did at shortstop. Compare and contrast. I mean, you've seen these Rangers for a long time. Who is the best player in if you had to win like a World Series game, all Rangers are available, which player would you take from Rangers history, or is it the guy playing shortstop tonight?
Man, I don't think I'm going to be on the air long enough to really talk through that one.
You got the floor, Murph.
That's a really long conversation. But, for the time being, especially just with what recent history has told us, it'd be one thing if Corey Seager hadn't had a great year, going back to 2020, if he couldn't throw, that series at us and that track record, and even before that, the ALCS in 2020. So, we're talking about just a dangerous hitter, a guy that I think, what he did over the course of this season, he was always capable of doing. He just was not able to stay healthy or whatever it was. And so I think, man, he's got the opportunity to do this for a few years to come in his prime. And obviously everybody fades a little bit as they get older, but man, this guy is truly a guy that he is dangerous on any pitch, on any part of the strike zone. A lot of guys may struggle with velocity. He doesn't. You could throw a guy out there throwing 102 and you could say the same exact things about it. So I don't know if I've ever seen a hitter that's this locked in and that's this scary to pitch to.
Have we seen the lineup, Old Chuck? Do we have the line? Okay, so we have the lineup, and he's still batting second behind Semien?
Yes.
And who's third?
Garver, and then Carter will be batting fourth.
Is that sufficient protection, you think, Garver, to get Seager good pitches tonight?
With the way that he's been swinging the bat, yes. Obviously, like I just said, they're going to go lefty, and in the first inning at least, and then we'll see. I'm sure they'll try to play matchups with them as much as they can, but it doesn't matter what type of protection is behind him. There's always going to be one hitter in a lineup that you do not let beat you. And, the only way that Corey Seager is really going to see some good pitches throughout the rest of this series is if, there's bases loaded. If there's a base open every single time, you can bet that they're going to try to go outside the strike zone and get him to chase.
Murph.
And he still might hit it out of the park.
Exactly. Murph, this team's 9-0 on the road. Why? Why is this team 9-0 on the road?
That's a really, really good question that I do not have an answer for. I've never seen something like that as well. You can point out certain series. The way that no home team won a game in 2010 in the division series when we played Tampa. You can point to the 2019 World Series Astros versus Nationals where no home team won a game. So it's one of those weird things where they've caught fire playing on the road, and it's a great test of your character too, because it's hard to go into an opposing ballpark, especially in the World Series, and fans are all over you. But I think it speaks to they also have done such a good job of getting early leads in all of these games and taking the crowd out of it, because it can get a little bit intimidating regardless of who you are. When the other team is rallying, the crowd's in the game, they're making a lot of noise. But I think that the Rangers have done such a good job early on in all these ball games.
Well, Murph, I'm curious your reaction to this because Evan Grant had the story out that hot dogs are the secret. They're not eating them at home, but they are pounding hot dogs when they go on the road. Reliever Josh Sports, what can I say? We're a strange group. It's hot dogs and it's Creed. What a mix.
Yeah, I was about to throw Creed in there as well. So I'm sure we could probably dig up some more things if we're wanting to dig and wanting to, figure out what the common denominator is. But regardless of the why, I'll take the result.
It's David Murphy here with you on The Fan. 3 multi-hit games in your postseason career, including 2 for 2 with 2 ribbies in Game 5 against the Cardinals in 2011. That must have been a special post-game feeling for you. What's it take to get locked in and have these big games with all the lights on from your perspective, Dave?
The ability to treat the postseason like any other game, to not let the stage get too big, to not let the crowd get in it. Whether you're obviously you want to feed off of your home crowd, but at the same time, the problem I always had was managing my effort level. And I've talked about this a few times, either with y'all or on different interviews throughout the course of the postseason. You get so pumped up, which is hard to do as a baseball player, and you're swinging through your shoes, you're out of your shoes, where, I wasn't a big swing and miss guy, but early on in my postseason career, I had 2 fastballs down the middle that I'd swing right through just because I was so amped up. So I think it's just being able to control your emotions, to control your body and just treat it like it's any other game.
As a fan, after the Seager home run, it started this this time warp of 2.5 or 3 hours where you're just sitting there stunned, and then the Garcia home run happens, and you experience the peak as a fan. When that happens to you as a player in that game, are you going home and high-fiving or do you forcibly calm yourself down? How much do you enjoy the moments between those massive moments?
Yeah, man, that's a great question. I think you enjoy every second of it. You try to not get too caught up in it. But you also, it's hard not to be a fan of the game at the same time and realize, regardless of where you are in the World Series, even when we were down 3-1 against the Giants in 2010, and you realize that your back's up against the wall and that you're going to have a hard time to fight to come back, but you also realize you're part of history and appreciate where your place in the game of baseball. So you enjoy every little thing. I guess perfect example of that, even on the losing side. When Albert Pujols hit 3 homers against us in the Cardinals World Series in 2011, there was no doubt in my mind that we were going to come back and fight the next night and win a ball game and even up the series. But I was driving home with my dad and I believe 2 of my nephews, and I told them, remember tonight, because the greatest hitter of this decade and this generation just hit 3 homers in a World Series game. And that's only happened, the amount of times that's happened, whether in the World Series or postseason, you can count on one hand. It's happened more since. But you appreciate the game. You appreciate the things that happen, even if you get beat, and you're resilient enough to go out and not let that bother you and go do your job the next day.
True or false, Murph? Old John Smoltz sounds like a Ranger hater on these broadcasts.
Which is disappointing at times. I'm not going to buy into it as much just because I like the guy a lot. I love listening to the way that he talks baseball. I can see it at times, and I'm not gonna give him too hard a time for it. I'm going to try to give him the benefit of the doubt. But good career, and I enjoy listening to him and what he does.
And then Aroldis Chapman. Were you clinched like we all were watching that 8th? I don't know how the hell they got out of that thing. Thank goodness for that double play.
He makes it fun, right? You would love for
fun, stressful, nerve-wracking,
dramatic. Whatever you can use a bunch of different words that you want to use, but it gets a little crazy when he's out there on the mound. But you're confident in the fact that he throws 100 miles an hour, and if he gets it in the zone, he's going to throw it by people.